Hello and welcome to this Long Island weather alert. An absolutely nasty day out there, and it's only going to get worse. Very chilly out there. It's upper 40s. Even in the alley, it's in the upper 40s. 48, 49 degrees is what it's showing. And temperatures right now 50 degrees. Got an east wind. It's raw. We've had some light rain today. Maybe occasionally some moderate showers, but things are going to get a whole lot worse. You can see we got a flood watch in effect, a coastal flood advisory in effect, coastal flood statement. We've got small craft advisories and gale warnings in effect. And then the worst of this nor'easter is going to be hitting just to our east in southern New England. Gale warnings in effect there, as well as a wind advisory in effect as well for tomorrow for that area. And they're going to see a lot of the worst of this storm system. But you can see still we've got winds already gusting up over 30 miles an hour in some areas here in Jersey Shore, as whole all those areas. It's just really it's really going to be getting worse. Today our highs were only in the mid 50s. That's it. That's all we did today. Lows this morning. Do you have some upper 40s? No radiational cooling as the clouds kind of moved in today. As far as rainfall, we haven't seen all that much yet. If we go past 12 hours, generally under a little more to the south and west, but generally for our area, less than very light rains, only maybe 0.05 or zero point zero 0.02. Not really a whole lot. This is all going to ramp up quite a bit. So you can see here's the storm system here that we have. It was rotating over the Great Lakes area here. This is the upper low, but it's going to form a coastal low offshore, which it is in the process of doing right now. And you can see here that gale warnings are in effect again for our offshore waters, coastal flood advisories. And again, looking at the radar, you see there's some rain, mostly light, but there are a few showers in there. But it's going to come steadier and heavier as we get into tomorrow. Just looking at our weather for the day, high of 56, low of 52. The high of 50, we were 14 degrees below normal today for the high, and 7 degrees below normal for the day. And so far this month, we've gotten 2.28 inches of rain, which is close to the normal value of 2.13 at Islip. That is going to change after we get this real soaker coming in. Looking at the weather map here, you'll see here that we have, here's your upper low, here's your coastal low that is developing. As we head into tomorrow, you'll see that coastal low. Let's move that over to tomorrow. You'll see the energy starts transferring to that coastal low. It's actually got a couple of coastal lows there. If we look at the surface analysis, again, we see that this complicated lumbering low. I'm going to call this another lumbering low. I think that was the word I was trying to think of last night. Just a slow-moving big system that's going to bring an extended period of rain. Unfortunately, there's some kind of mishap with tropical tidbits again. So I don't have the 0Z HRRR in, so we'll have to look at the 18Z HRRR, and we'll look at some of the. But let's first go and look at the. I already showed you the dew points and wind flow. There's no need to show that to you again. We're going to focus on the precipitation here. So you can look at FGen, but I'm not going to do that. I don't think we even have it on this model. I can look at it on the NAM. But you'll see that heavier rain starts moving in after midnight, and it's going to become steady and heavy, and it's going to be lingering around for much of the day tomorrow. Now, the HRRR seems to think that you see, there's that coastal low starting to tighten up, but it seems like it has the heaviest rain off to the east now. And so it would mainly affect New England, and we would just be dealing with lighter rain in the evening, so it wouldn't be as wet. The first part of the day would be worse, and then by the later in the afternoon and the evening, we would just maybe have maybe light rain or some sucky drizzle, but it'll still be pretty nasty out. There's that low going right over, and this again is the 18Z run. I don't have there's some kind of issue going on. We don't have the 0Z run. But you can see there's that low. I mean, right before I started, it wouldn't even load, and now it's loading again. But you can see the center of that low going over Cape Cod. That's a deep low, 995, very deep. So if we look at the total accumulated precip on this for the storm, you see it's shifted now the heaviest rains off to the east. So this is what the HRRR was thinking. It's like it's going to be more off to the east. I saw this in the HDRPS too. So maybe not as bad of a soaker as it could be. Most of the island's still going to get over an inch, between 1 and 2 inches of rain. But the 2-inch plus is now into the southern New England, at least according to the HRRR. And the reason for this is change the regions a little bit. I'll just go to eastern U.S. just to show you what's going on. We can do an upper air. Oh, yes, doesn't do the upper air. I'm going to go put this over to the European here. All right, and we'll go back and look at the surface here. Actually, I'll look at the upper air, show you what's going on here. All right, that's the 8Z. That one hasn't even loaded. We'll look at the 12Z here. All right, so here's the upper air. All right, you see that how it's transferring that energy off to the coastal low. All right, so we go to the surface. You see here's the parent low, the upper level low, a coastal forms overnight and then tightens up. And the Euro is still, at least on the last run that we have at 12Z, it soaks us. All right, and you can see how that low is really tight, 995, really tight low, really gets even deeper. It looks like it goes even deeper as it gets into 945, into the Gulf of Maine there. Real deep system there, all right? So this is what the Euro has, all right? So you can see how it has it a little more tucked in, so therefore we get more rain out of it, all right? So getting closer into the area, if we look at the total accumulated rainfall, you'll see how it has the heaviest rain right over Long Island, over 2 inches. So it has the worst part over the 2 inches. This is the 12Z Euro. We don't have the 18Z Euro. Actually, we do have the 18Z Euro. Okay. So this is the 18Z Euro. Now the 18Z Euro wants to work. Okay. Let's try this again. So here's the 18Z Euro. In fact, I'm going to just, let me do this. Yeah. So this is the 18Z Euro. All right. Similar idea here. You can see how there's the parent low, and then it's transferring the energy to the coastal low tomorrow. Heavy rain all day, and that doesn't really end until later in the evening. So this is what the Euro is saying. All right, I tend to believe the European on this. All right, total accumulated precip again has that again the heavier amounts over Long Island, particularly Suffolk County, would see in excess of 2 inches, according to this. All right, so this is all what we're dealing with right now, all right? This is what the European is saying. But again, every model is different. So and I'll see if we have the latest HRRR. Okay, finally. All right, it looks like they're finally working on fixing the site a little bit. HRRR is still showing the heavier rain going off to the east, which is interesting. All right, so we have 27 hours of that in. So it should be enough to get us through the event. So you can see, again, the heavier rain. There was something going on with tropical tidbits. It was down the other day, and now, I don't know. But I'm glad it's working again because I appreciate I think his name is Levi. I appreciate him keeping this site up because the people at Pivotal Weather, they're greedy and want to charge you. So he does this for free, and I appreciate it, and we give him my thanks. So anyway, you can see here that this low, again, is further off to the south and the east. And we would just be dealing with light rain, though it does bring another area of steadier rain in the evening. Though I don't see the isobars being that tight, which means the winds, the worst of the winds would be off to the east. It's a little later and further to the east than the European. So the HRRR continues with this idea of it being later and further off to the east. Not sure if I'm buying that at this point. We'll go into the NAM next. We don't have the 0Z NAM, but we'll look at the 18Z NAM. And again, you can see that heavy rain. Again, real heavy, soaking, pouring over Suffolk County. Some really heavy rain. And then it just transitions to lighter rain and sucky drizzle by the evening. But the low is a little more tucked in like the Euro, which means we have a little more wind and sucky drizzle, and that means the whole day is going to be unpleasant. And so the whole day is going to be miserable. You're not going to want to be out. You can see there's it again tightens up that low as it goes into New England. And I want to just show you the cloud presentation on this because it's kind of interesting what the NAM is doing. So obviously, yeah, we're not going to have the sun, but look at what the NAM does. It's trying to actually form a little bit of an eye to the system, especially as it gets into the Gulf of Maine. Look at that. Yeah, it's trying to develop like an eye to it, which is kind of interesting. So, that's really interesting to see, obviously. Let's go over to the HDRPS and see if that is continuing to kind of shift things off. This is the 18Z run of it. And yeah, it continues to keep the tightest part of the low offshore. And you can see, look how it whips it, because it gets picked up by the upper low and then gets flung into New England, flung literally into Cape Cod right there. That's what the HDRPS is doing. It also keeps us dealing with rain all day tomorrow. So that's what the HDRPS is doing. You can see again the center of that low, right over us, right there, right over Cape Cod, tomorrow night, around midnight. It almost has some kind of hybrid characteristics to the storm. But the HDRPS looks like it would absolutely soak Cape Cod. Oh yeah, look at this. So Cape Cod and Boston, if the HDRPS was right, 3 to possibly 5 inches of rain for that area, which would cause a lot of flooding in Boston and be a big problem for Boston if the HDRPS is right. So we have this divergence in the models, obviously. I tend to think that southern New England is going to get the worst of it, but I'm not so sure. I think the HDR might be a little too far to the east. So plan on a wet day tomorrow, rain all day. This is a lumbering low pressure system, and the rain starting now, and it's going to be with us for at least 24 hours. So at least that's what I'm thinking at this point. Even though it's going to form this coastal low, it's a big lumbering system that's going to take its time to get through. So that's the rain factor of it. Obviously, it's going to be very cold too. So if I look at the HRRR tomorrow, the temperatures are going to be very similar to today. So again, if we go to the temperatures here, I'll just go to the European already at this point. And your dew points and wind flow. You see the east winds, all right, tomorrow. So we start off with the east winds. They do become more northerly by the evening, which may try to bring in drier air, but I don't know about that because that moisture is just going to wrap around that low. And you could see the winds on Friday turn a little more northwesterly, and then we start to get rid of this thing. Obviously, temperatures really pretty much are just going to hold steady. Upper 40s to low 50s tomorrow, I think, is all we're going to do. I don't even know if we see even mid 50s. I think it's going to be colder tomorrow than it was today. And then Friday, we're still not seeing that much of a warm-up. Maybe Jersey, it looks like maybe it's trying to bring in some sunshine in southern New Jersey. Maybe they get some 60s there. But for us, we're probably going to only be in the upper 50s again, maybe a little bit warmer. But still pretty chilly. It's still going to be a raw Friday. And it's only slow improvement, even by the weekend, you see. Maybe you see slow improvement, but not really. Maybe by Sunday we'll start seeing some. We'll talk about the weekend, I think, more tomorrow night, I think. I'm more focused on the storm that we're dealing with. And then we'll talk about the rainfall amounts tomorrow night as the storm wraps up for us, but not for southern New England. It's going to be continuing for them. And it's going to be very interesting to see how those rainfall totals verify what the HDRPS is saying, that's for sure. But anyway, let's look at, I'll take a glance at the weekend. We'll just go to the RGM, just use this to show the clouds again. Maybe this one will show an eye too. We'll have to see if it does. Yeah, well, almost a little bit of one there. Yeah, it's showing an eye too. Look at that. It's even more pronounced on the RGM. So take a look at that. That's an eye right there. It's nuts. Have to see if this thing forms an eye or not. But obviously Friday, we're still going to be dealing with clouds. We'll still have to be on alert for shower activity. And then Saturday it gets less, and then I think we start seeing some more sunshine. Just each day will get better. So I think you'll have more sunshine each day throughout the weekend. But yeah, very, very interesting type of setup, that's for sure. So this is going to be a very interesting storm for sure. I will go to the NAM and just I want to look at a few other things here. FGen, which is kind of something where we could look for the heavy rain to develop too. So you could see that FGen, because that's what we look at in coastal storms. We look at FGen, and you can see here that the heaviest is over Suffolk County and particularly right over southern New England, up Cape Cod, up to Boston. So there could be some really tremendous rainfall amounts. I think that area is going to get hit very hard, and it's going to be very interesting to see how much rain falls in that area. We can probably talk about it on Friday night because it's going to be it could be a very historic event for them. Let's go look at the European. Same deal again. So the heaviest rain, I think, is going to fall over southern New England. I mean, that's what it seems like, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to see plenty of rain throughout the day tomorrow. So yeah, that's a real look at that, just unloads right there. So that's support for a real heavy rain event in that area, in my opinion. And then we also have to deal with the wind aspect of it as well. So for a better look at that, let's go over to Ventusky, and we'll take a look at the wind gusts as we head into. Now, this is the HRRR model. So actually, we can look at different models here, but we'll first take a look at the HRRR model. This is not the European model. All right, so you can see it keeps the worst of the winds away from us, except for the South Fork. It does keep the worst of the winds away from us because of how it forms the low. But you can definitely see as we get into Thursday, Cape Cod, you're going to be dealing with 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts over there, and wind advisory, and maybe even a high wind warning maybe be needed for that area. And Boston looks like it's getting into it as well. I mean, of course, our area doesn't see too much. Of course, the HRRR keeps the storm further away from us. And again, look at some of these wind gusts here out in the Gulf of Maine, going into Boston, into Barnstable. This wind is going to pull the water up pretty substantially in areas of the Cape, northern areas of the Cape. It could be a lot of coastal flooding there. So this is going to be a really intense nor'easter for them, and hitting, unfortunately, right before the Memorial Day weekend, which is going to mean the beaches are going to be screwed up over there for sure. And we'll go take this into Friday and again visualize this thing. But this is not the European model. All right, this is the HRRR, which may be wrong. I tend to, with what's going on with the cutbacks with the Weather Service, I'm a little more hesitant to use American models, particularly for these storms such as these. So let's go to windy.com. I'd rather spend more time with windy.com, which has more models to look at as well as has the European. So let's go and look at that. And going into tomorrow here, because this is the European, and the European here, 10 a.m., has some pretty strong wind gusts even over Long Island. It has 30 miles an hour, so it'll be windy tomorrow than today, 43. And then we go into the evening. We're still dealing at 4 o'clock here. The winds get even now. Over Nassau County, we're dealing with gusts to 34, but if you're over the eastern part of Long Island, I don't know why that Upton has not put a wind advisory out there, because I think it's definitely going to be needed. 53-mile-an-hour wind gusts there, and the South Fork in East Hampton and Southampton. And it's only going to get worse as this thing gets tighter. Let's pull this into, look at that. You can see it almost looks like it's got an eye. This is 8 p.m. tomorrow. And you can see, again, East End is getting the worst of it, 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts again. I think there should be a wind advisory for most of Suffolk County, at least the eastern half of it. And this is 8 p.m. tomorrow night. And then as we get into Friday, here's Friday, 2 a.m., we still got the wind over Long Island. Here's Suffolk County still dealing with some wind. And now if you're in the Cape, you're dealing with 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts as that storm gets closer, all right? This is the European model, all right? Not as high resolution, but 56, 57. This is quite a fetch that's coming in, and I think there's going to be a lot of coastal flooding in Boston. This is going to be a big problem for them. And then as we go into Friday, it kind of goes into the Gulf of Maine and starts moving away. But that's a lot of wind, and all that wind is going to definitely kick up the water. So let's go and look at some wave heights here. Gotta find that waves. Okay, so this is crazy. So this is tomorrow, 4 p.m. And you can see here a lot of there's going to be some beach erosion even on the east end. Beach erosion and coastal flooding. 12-foot waves here in the Cape. Remember, the Cape is going to be like a catcher's mitt. It's going to catch that water. So as the evening goes on, it gets worse. North of Provincetown, you're going to have 15-foot waves coming in, and that's going to be for much of the coast of New England. Now, I know the coast is rugged up in Maine, but it's not so much in Massachusetts. So they're going to have to worry about some flooding, especially again because the water is going to be pushed into there. So it's going to be quite substantial flooding here, and you can see again how high these wave heights are. So this is going to be a substantial nor'easter for that area for sure. And then finally it starts calming down later Friday night. But again, the beaches are going to be messed up for the weekend. Not really going to be a great weekend to be at the beach anyway. It's not going to be that hot, warm anyway. It's going to be kind of chilly. So this is what we're looking at for tomorrow for our area. And you can see here, definitely the South Fork. I think anything east of Smith Point, you're going to be dealing with some beach erosion for sure. 10-foot waves there. So it's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty bad. I don't know what wind waves is, but I'm not sure what that is exactly. What that parameter is kind of interesting. That's what we have here. You can also look at swell too, which also shows you the swell that you have over here. 8-foot swells, and not showing the swell in Cape yet. Interestingly enough, oddly enough, and then it shows the swell. These different types of things, but I just use the waves, generally speaking. So this is wind without gusts. All right, so this is the wind without the gusts. I just use the gusts. You can see it almost looks like there's an eye there. All right, we're going to go back to wind gusts, and we're going to go to the NAM, which we can use over here. I think we can use the NAM as well. It also has the HDRPS. We'll go to the NAM first here, because the NAM always likes to go crazy with the wind. So this would be the worst case scenario. But the NAM has some really crazy winds, mainly for the Cape. East of the Cape, it's got some 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We're talking your hurricane force. I don't think that's going to happen, but the winds are definitely going to be up there. I think over 50 for sure on the Cape. And I think also the East End has a chance of that as well. And again, you can see there's like an eye type feature to this storm. So really interesting to see that. Really interesting to see that. This also has the HDRPS on here too, which I'm kind of curious about with wind as well. So, yeah, really interesting type of event that we're going to be seeing here. And yes, there will be some snowfall as well in some of these areas as well. Up in the mountains, believe it or not, there will be some snowfall. So the storm is going to be just a typical. I mean, this is something that you see in March, not in May. So we're like 2 months off here with the weather. All right. I'm going to go back to the. We're going to look at the HRRR, I guess. For snow, we have almost the whole thing in now. You can see. HRRR still seems to keep the worst of it away. But I still think even after the steady rain stops, we're going to be dealing with sucky drizzle. And then there could be a redevelopment of steady rain in the evening. Though at this point, according to the HRRR at least, if we go over here, event to sky, at this point, tomorrow night, let's see what it has for winds. Yeah, it still has breezy. It's still going to be a wind-driven drizzle, I think. So it's still going to be pretty miserable, I think. I don't see. Yeah, it still has some gusts up to 24. It's not going to be a day you're going to want to be out, though. The worst of it, obviously, again, goes over the Cape. And this is the HRRR, and you can see here. Yeah, look at those wind gusts there. 60 miles an hour on the Cape. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. There's your low, and look at that. That's just incredible. So this is again the HRRR model, but look at the 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts offshore over hurricane force. So all the models tend to agree this is going to be a powerhouse low. That's gonna develop here. It's gonna be a powerhouse low, for sure. And I'm just kind of curious to see what this does with the waves, because this also shows waves, doesn't it? See, yeah. So you can see again how, again, New England is going to get slammed by this coastal storm, for sure. For sure. Meanwhile, you can see there's your storm kind of pulling away there, but it's going to be a hell of a storm for sure. Okay, snowfall, because there will be some snowfall, believe it or not, in some areas up in the mountains. You see a little bit of snow up there, which is pretty nuts. And if we look at the icon, all right, that's not showing any snowfall, but it seems like they dialed that back a little bit. Some of the models were showing that. I mean, the air is pretty chilly, so I wouldn't discount the fact there might be some snowfall up in these mountains. Yeah, the NAM is showing that. So up in the mountains, you're gonna be up in the mountains. But if you're up in the mountains, and you're gonna see some snow. For the rest, everybody else, it's just gonna be a really cold, miserable, wind-driven rain tomorrow. So yeah, it's gonna be an absolutely miserable day. And again, this is the current radar, and you can see what's left over from the severe weather. We're not going to see any of the severe element of it, but it's definitely going to pour. Once we get toward after midnight, it's going to be a heavy, heavy rain for sure, and things are going to get bad. I'm sorry, is there no briefing from the Weather Service? No, we're not seeing that again because of the cutbacks. But there should definitely be a wind advisory in effect for, I think, Suffolk County. I don't know why that they didn't do that. But they're being, again, too hesitant on that, in my opinion. I think a wind advisory, at least for the eastern half of Suffolk, is going to be necessary because some of these wind gusts definitely could be approaching 50 miles an hour on the east end with this just powerhouse low that we're going to get. It's going to bring a lot of rain and a lot of wind. So the wind is going to be more of an issue east, but the rain, I think a lot of us are going to see a lot of rain. So it's going to be a hell of a soaker tomorrow as we deal with yet another lumbering low-pressure system. So have a good night, and try to avoid going out tomorrow because it's going to be absolutely miserable.